welcome. Thanks for taking the time to view my channel, everyone. And thanks for the support, everyone, the contributors, subscribing, the comments, the feedback. I greatly appreciate it, and I welcome you all to my channel. Now, I'm looking at the outer limits of the moon and these massive structures that are look to be made out of basically breccia or rocks that were formed by the cooling of lava somehow, because when you're looking at these structures, they look like a very white material, which the ejecta ray systems of many of the craters, the scientists are telling us, the basalts. We are seeing also anorthositic rocks. It's a calcium-rich rock. It's found in abundance on the moon, and I'm wondering if these white structures that we are seeing are not anorthositic rock. Did you all know that when the moon was furthest away from Earth, that we, have low tides? The moon being close to the Earth, it is very real that it does affect the tides. What is basalt? I often say basalts because there's terms that I'm using that people maybe are not knowing what they are, but basalt is basically, there's both some here on the moon, there on the moon, and here on Earth. It's volcanic rock that was formed by rapidly cooling lava. And breccia, like I said, is a type of rock that is composed of a matrix of different materials. This is very intriguing to me. It's spelled Breccia, whether it be Brexia or Breccia. Yes, it's a type of rock that is composed of a matrix of different materials, and is why I'm believing that it could be very colorful on the surface of the moon and very rich in minerals and fragments of other rocks. And it's found on the moon and Earth, the breccia, and it has many formations all cluttered together in a matrix of minerals inside of one rock. There are so many different colors on the surface of the moon. We've heard astronauts tell us that there are black pearls, like black pearl rocks on the surface of the moon in abundance. Purple rocks too. You could hear the astronauts and different Apollo missions talking about the various colors of the surface of the moon. So this isn't something that I'm inventing. It's something that I got the information by the astronauts, and by looking myself, here's an X-ray shot, by looking myself at the surface of the moon and by post-processing my photos, enhancing them myself, I can clearly see that the moon is very colorful. And I have yet to know if that surface greenery color that we are seeing is not a permanent fungus or fungi that grew throughout, on and on top of everything. And why am I talking about this fungus? Well, obviously, we do know that some planets have vegetation. I believe that. But Crazy Penguin mentioned and sent some info to me saying that they had found fungus. It even clogged the water system on the space station. So the space station has not been there for 20,000 years, right? And already we are seeing growth in and around the space station. And how far are we off the surface of the Earth? And there is growth. So, guys, could there not be growth between the Earth and the Moon? It's not something exaggerated. We're not talking about the constellation Orion. We're talking about 300,000 kilometers away, give or take 100,000 kilometers. Somebody asked me the other day, I'm always talking, they say, about the word albedo, and they did not know what it was. Even looking it up had a hard time finding the exact term. Well, basically, albedo is the term, it's a unit less, this term is a unit less measure that refers to the how much of an object diffusely reflects light from the sun. So they talk about Plato crater having a low albedo. It's not reflecting any light. We can't see any light on the surface, and yet there are areas on the moon where the surface seems to be 100% reflective. And don't forget, the moon is not reflective. It's very, very lightly reflective, only a couple of marked percentages. As we're looking at the outer limits of the moon, north side and east side, I'll get a nice slow pan of the outer edges. The moon, we often talk about the dark side of the moon. Well, basically, there isn't literally a dark side. It's that all celestial objects in the universe have a dark side. And there are certain planets and moons, as our satellite, that do have areas that are in um, permanent or eternal darkness, if you want. But they are in the bottom of certain basins and craters that never see the light. And scientists also say that those areas could have frozen lakes. Now, until digital satellite photography, the surface of the moon, guys, was they had information on craters where and photos. The first photos astronomers were seeing before these, at the beginning with the satellite images. I mean, these were starting like crappy photos. They were coming in really badly. Some of the information was written without really knowing. And then, boom, the satellites start getting amazing shots. And then that's when they started naming and recognizing the dark side of the moon, obviously. Soviets were there first to be able to get the images. Oh, like Sinus Iridum. That's something that I haven't mentioned and I really should. Sinus Iridum, we're talking in the Bay of Rainbows. It's a plain of basaltic lava that forms a northwestern extension to the Mare Imbrium on Earth's moon. Basically, the city that I found was in the mountains that are all around the outer limits of Sinus Iridum cavity. And it's surrounded from the northeast to the southwest, and it's called the Montes Jura Range. Now, you guys know I love saying that we can see the north side that we're looking at right now. At times, we can see parts of the north side, literally the dark side of the moon, guys, that no one has ever seen due to oscillation, the oscillation of the moon, the uneven rotation of the moon. Libration is another reason and term video that I had gotten into at one point. But listen up, something very interesting is the earth shine. Have you ever heard of earth shine? The unilluminated portions of the moon can sometimes be dimly seen as a result of earth shine. And with my light effect, I can go get a lot. I can see a very clear surface. Planet shine is the illumination by reflected sunlight from a planet of a part of the otherwise dark side of one of its moons. The best known example of planet shine is earth shine, which can be seen from Earth when the moon is in new or nearly so. Typically, this results in the shine of the moon opposite the sun being bathed in a soft, faint light. Planet shine has been observed elsewhere in the solar system. In particular, it has recently been used by the Cassini space probe to image portions of the moons of Saturn, even when they are not directly lit by the sun, the earth shine. If you look it up, you can look up a diagram of planet shine and earth shine to see it, if you prefer seeing it in a picture, if you're like me, if you're visual. Basically, earth shine is reflected earth light visible on moon's night side. It's also known as the moon's ashendlow, or as the new moon with the old moon in her arm. It's an expression I've heard before. Earthshine is most readily observable from shortly before until shortly after a new moon. You have to notice the phase. It's not very long, but when it comes by, you can use the earthshine to be able to view dim parts of the moon. And that, taking that into consideration, is something that you really should try. So, at one point, the moon, I remember, was in conjunction with Venus. And what was happening is that from where I was with my telescope, I could see Earth shine, the crescent moon. Therefore, what was lit during the crescent moon was actually the dark side of the moon. And it was dimly lit. And with light technique, I can go get structures that are on the dark side of the moon that maybe have never been seen or photographed or filmed before. This is the force. These are the ones helping me obtain the big goal, our goal, the community's goal, to get a bigger telescope. 14-inch to 16-inch telescope will be very different. The channel will change entirely with the technique, and it will advance. We'll see the surface. We'll see many different things. Thanks for the support. I have the link to the campaign up in the description of the video. Please take the time to view it and to see how much support the community is getting.